I had been invited by Adamaka to come and see the week-long STEM camp, and I missed it last year, so I was excited to come this year. And I popped back and forth from the little girls to the older girls, and I was down in the older girl room. And as a person with a background in higher education, I was listening to the facilitator, and he was great. He was telling them some key information about developing variables and how to code appropriately. And the young ladies were working to code their robots, so they were very attentive. However, he used some very high-level language. So language that for him is probably normal, terms for him that he probably uses every day. But for middle school and high school girls, they're probably not known terms. And so I saw a facilitator come up and say, thank you so much. I just want to share another example of how to understand what a variable does in this context. And she started to tell them about algebra and reminding them about learning algebra. And I'm like, what a perfect example. Because if you're middle school or higher, you've definitely had algebra. She started explaining like, okay, so a variable in coding is similar to the X in algebra. And she went on to share information, and she checked in with the young girls, like, do you understand what I'm saying? You know, do you remember algebra? Do you remember the X? And really took that level of understanding and information and broke it apart in a way that the young girls could understand, and then they could continue coding. And I walked out of the room and I was like, that was so great. So I hurried up and I went and said to Adamaka, like, have you considered the robust opportunity that the facilitators are having? Right? We talk a lot about the innovators and what experience the innovators are having. However, the facilitators are growing and developing as well. And as a veteran educator, 20 plus years teaching at all different levels, from middle school to high school to being a university professor, and a time where teacher workforce is critically understaffed and in need of young people who can do that. I was like, oh, this is workforce development for the facilitators. They're here, they're learning how to translate their knowledge, break it down, share it with young innovators, and then allow those young innovators to grow. And Adamaka was like, yes. And it brought me back to my early days. I became a teacher not because I had parents who were teachers or because I just loved the classroom. I became a teacher because I started off at the Boys and Girls Club. And that was my first little job, you know, checking in the wiffle balls and checking out the ping pong paddles. And you learn skills. You learn how little kids don't do this or do that. And you learn how to talk and communicate and to share knowledge. And I thought, this is just like that. These facilitators are learning how to be educators, and we need educators. We need educators for our K-12 schools, but we also need educators for our nonprofits so that they can have that after school and out of school learning experience. And so I was super excited to see that moment. I even went back and sat down with the facilitator, whose name was Sydney. And I just asked, you know, how did that happen? Like, why did you know that was the right thing to do? And it took her a little while to think through it. And then she was just like, well, you know, I remember being a learner. And I remember trying to learn how to code. And I remember wanting to understand what the facilitator was saying and trying to figure out what's a set of knowledge or a set of experiences I've had that's similar. And so she said, I just want to give back to the innovators what I needed when I was learning. So definitely excellent opportunity for facilitators to come and start and grow as professionals and sharing their knowledge. And, you know, no matter what field they end up in, if you want to be a leader in that field, you have to be able to communicate to a number of different audiences what you know, how you know it, and how others can learn what you know. And so I just thought it was great.